call on Sean to chat with me in relation to the area of apprenticeship. Sean, you're very welcome this evening.
Thank you very much, Barbara, and thank you all very much for attending and listening to all of the great offerings we have in further education and training.
Great. Sean, I suppose over the last while, we've heard about a huge transformation in the area of apprenticeship. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Okay, yeah, so absolutely there has been a resurgence in apprenticeship, I suppose, for a number of reasons. I suppose first and foremost, you would all be familiar with the traditional craft apprenticeships, and you think about construction, engineering, motor, electrical, and all of these apprenticeships have been around for years. But since 2016, we've had 36 new apprenticeship types. So in addition to everybody recognises the boom in construction and the necessity to build more houses, which then the demand rises for qualified craftspeople to engage in all of those crafts. But then this whole raft of new apprenticeships has brought a new impetus and a new type of apprenticeship. And if we look at, for example, we had a target nationally this year of 6,000 registrations across all types of apprenticeship, and already we've got 6,500 to date. So we're way ahead of target. And in the Apprenticeship Action Plan, which is a government plan 2021 to 2025, is a very ambitious plan, but their target is to have 10,000 registrations annually by 2025. So there's huge government investment in the whole space in apprenticeship. The engagement with employers is really gaining traction, and people recognise it as an alternative way to get the necessary skills in education. Because not only can you develop, and all of our apprenticeships are regarded as tertiary or third level qualifications. So not only is there potential to gain a craft and a really useful education and training, but also the progression opportunities are immense, and many graduates go on to higher education, level 7, 8, 9, and so on and so forth. So I think there's a renewed interest in apprenticeship. And we're seeing the results in the registration numbers that are coming through. Okay.
So, Sean, there's quite a difference between the craft apprenticeships and the new generation apprenticeships. Can you just give me a little flavour of some of the new generation apprenticeships and where they might fall on the framework of qualifications?
Okay, and everybody would have seen your framework of qualifications earlier on. So all apprenticeship is a structured form of education and training that's delivered over a number of years, and there's elements of off-the-job and on-the-job training. So the craft apprenticeships typically would be 4 years, of which there are 7 phases. 3 of them are off-the-job, which means that takes place in an educational facility such as a training centre or an IT, and then the rest of the training is work experience in the workplace. And most people, or the way most human beings learn, is they learn by doing. So 70% of our learning is picked up by doing things. 20% of our learning or our life learning comes from those around us, our mentors, our peers, and then 10% roughly is the academic underpinning. And that's why you get that structured balance between on the job and off the job. But the new generation apprenticeships, they have come in a variety of different lengths and different levels on the framework of qualifications. So we call them the new generation apprenticeships. They've been around since 2016, and they go from a minimum of level 5 on the framework qualifications up to and including level 10. So we do have apprenticeships now at level 10. So for instance, we've got an equipment systems apprenticeship at level 9, electrical engineer at level 7, sous chef level 8, recruitment level 8, auctioneer level 6, finance at level 8, and then the project engineer at level 10. And that's just a flavour of some of the apprenticeships available. And of course, most importantly for us, and we're very, very proud that we have 2 of our own apprenticeships that were developed within MSLETB. One is the sales apprenticeship at level 6, and then the national butchery apprenticeship at level 5. And all apprenticeships are national. They're available across the country. So as you can see, there's a huge range of apprenticeships available.
Fantastic. And we're lucky going to be able to hear from one of our apprentices later this evening as well, who's on one of our own that we developed. So Sean, just in relation, do all apprenticeships get allowances?
So the one clear point of differentiation between an apprenticeship and any other type of program is that there must be a contract of employment from the outset. So to become an apprentice, you must be employed and then registered as an apprentice. So all apprentices get paid throughout their apprenticeship. So the model is called earn as you learn. So unlike if you go into third level, obviously you're paying fees, you're paying accommodation. The cost really is borne by the participant in that particular education setting. But the apprentice gets paid from the get-go. From the minute they start, they have this employment contract. Now, there is a slight variation in terms of the craft apprenticeships. When they come to the training centres, they get allowances, they get training allowances from the ETB, and we also provide accommodation and or travel allowances and some small meal allowances. The new generation of apprenticeships don't get those training allowances. But the one thing about the apprenticeship is that all training is provided free, and most of the material that you need for the program, such as books, consumables, materials, that's all provided by the training provider. So, economically, it's much less of a burden on the participant undergoing an apprenticeship.
So earn and learn is a really nice way to be going. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a very different route to going into the third level opportunity, maybe, where you're paying fees, paying accommodation, and maybe not looked at in as many times as we should be looking at that as a route as well. So,
exactly.
Sean,
and it is now. It is if anybody takes a look at CAO, there is a link now on the CAO website that brings you directly to the available apprenticeship jobs on apprenticeship.ie. That's where employers are starting to advertise their jobs. So, I mean, there's currently vacancies there, and if anybody's interested in an apprenticeship, they should look there if they're interested in finding an employer. Or, of course, they can contact us with all of the various channels that you're going to mention, and we'll speak to anybody about apprenticeship, both from an apprentice perspective, but also if there's employers on the call who are interested in apprenticeship, we're more than happy to speak to them about that as well.
Okay. And Sean, just in relation to what's the difference between a traineeship and an apprenticeship?
Okay, so the learning model is quite similar in that it's a work-based learning model. So it's experiential learning. A lot of the learning is done by doing. So it's called action learning. So they're out there in the workplace learning and doing. The main point of differentiation between an apprenticeship and a traineeship is that the trainee does not have to have a contract of employment. So trainees can be people that come from the live register, they can be unemployed, they can be school leavers that come directly to us, or they can be people who are in employment, and if the employer releases them to participate in the traineeship. So we have a variety of different participants on our traineeships. So, for example, we've just started a HTV traineeship, and there's 3 people on that program who were employed. Their employers released them to come in and participate on the program. Then other people are job changers or new job seekers or people who are just off the live register. So the traineeship model tends to be a bit shorter, typically 6 months to 15 months, but at least 30% of that program has to be on the job work experience.
Okay. And a lot of people are currently looking for the HGV, Sean, because I suppose it's one of the ones we've seen on the news over the last number of months where there's a lot of vacancies in that area as well. So that's a good one to have.
Absolutely. And there's a huge demand. We work very closely with the Irish Road Authorities Association. And again, MSLETB are one of the leaders in this field nationally, because seven other ETBs have looked at the programme that we're delivering and have seen the quality of it. And they've actually taken on board the way we deliver the programme and the content. Because a lot of people think, a HGV course is about just driving the truck, but it's not. Because, you have to do health and safety, first aid, pallet trucks, forklifts. So there's a whole package. It's not just about driving. So there's a holistic approach to the way we train the learner on that. Any
other traineeships available in Mayo, Sean?
Yes, I mean, there's a whole range. It's multidisciplinary. We have hairdressing, healthcare, life sciences, manufacturing. We're just about to launch our new advanced manufacturing facility in Ballina Training Centre, which again we're very excited about because I mean it's of its time, and there's a lot of employers in Mayo who are looking for those skills in PLCs, in electronics, and in automation. So that program is just ready to launch. Medical administration. We're very excited to be involved with Microsoft. We're the first in the country to develop a Microsoft Cloud computing traineeship. And again, there's huge opportunity in that space. So absolutely. But the thing about the traineeship is they must have a host employer. Now we can do a little bit of matchmaking there, but to succeed in the traineeship, you have to be able to access the work experience.
Okay. And Sean, I'm aware that on the apprenticeship site, I think employers are beginning to advertise on that site as well. There are some vacancies available there, so people can have a look at that site and see some vacancies that are up there as well. Just, I suppose, if we have employers in our audience tonight, how can they find out more about recruiting an apprentice, Sean?
Okay, so there's really two types of employers that might be on the call. There are those that have previously engaged with us and have employed apprentices in the past, and for them the process will be relatively straightforward because they will have been approved. But if there's any new employers, they have to contact us because we have to bring them through a process of approval, because we have to make sure that they have qualified mentors, that they have the range and the depth of the work necessary to fulfill all the requirements of the curricula. So actually step one is for the employer to become approved for a particular apprenticeship. Once an employer becomes approved, that they can then register or take on an apprentice. That could be an existing member of their team or a new member of their team, but they take on the apprentice. So again, through all the contact channels that you're going to share, I think at the end of the program, but apprenticeship at MSLETB.ie is the quickest way to get to the apprenticeship team, and we can engage with any employer about any of the apprenticeships. And I suppose it's probably the one thing that I didn't mention is that every employer who has an apprentice in Mayo, Sligo and Leitrim, and every apprentice in those three counties has to be registered and is managed and administered by us, irrespective of whether they go to third level or they train with us. We're still responsible for their journey through their apprenticeship.
Very good. And Sean, my final question to you, are there any subsidies available for employers to take somebody on?
Yes, so there is a subsidy currently available in 2021, but that subsidy was an incentive. It was introduced really because of COVID-19 to entice employers to register apprentices earlier in the year when there was a bit of a dip in the numbers of number of registrations. But that is due to finish at the end of December of this year. That was €3,000, which was 2,000 on registration of the apprentice, and 1,000 was payable at the end of the year. Now, in the action plan for apprenticeship, there's a commitment to introduce a new incentive scheme for the new generation apprenticeships, which are the post-2016 apprenticeships, because the craft apprenticeships are already heavily subsidised because we pay allowances, but the new generation apprenticeships weren't really receiving any subvention or intervention. So there is going to be a new grant for those particular types of apprenticeships. And then there's going to be targeted incentives for particular areas where there's pinch points in sectors that need additional employment. And also there's going to be some incentives around gender balances and to ensure that there's equality of access to all apprenticeships for all ages, all genders and all socio-economical backgrounds.
Sean, thank you very much. A lot of information there, and I suppose it's really important that people know that they can go on to apprenticeship.ie or go on to MSLETB, which will bring you to the link to the apprenticeship.ie, but also that we have that free phone number where you can ring 1-800-100-100, and we're here to answer any questions for you. So thank you very much, Sean.